Picture this. It's a totally ordinary day. November 24th, 1971. People are boarding a commercial flight, shoving bags into overhead bins, just settling in for what they think is going to be a completely standard, uneventful trip. But sitting right there among them, just quietly chilling in the back of the plane, is a guy named Dan Cooper. And the moment he stepped onto that aircraft, he set off a chain of events so wild, so incredibly baffling, that it literally rewrote true crime history. So, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tracking the exact steps of the ultimate mystery of November 24th. We'll break down exactly how a seemingly average guy pulled off an incredible stunt that still leaves investigators completely speechless.
To really get the gravity of this, you have to remember who we're talking about here. The FBI, an agency with practically unlimited resources and some of the best investigative tools on the planet. And yet, they consider this single event to be their greatest unsolved mystery. I mean, they've cracked countless cases over the years, tracked down the most elusive people in the world, but this one, it stands completely alone. It's like a giant puzzle that's just missing its final piece. Put yourself in the shoes of an investigator for a second. How exactly does someone commit a highly complex crime in a tiny, confined space surrounded by witnesses and then just vanish? Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out.
The crazy part is, this whole saga unfolds at lightning speed, all on a single day, November 24th. It starts off totally normal in the afternoon. Engines humming, passengers relaxing. Cooper's just another face in the crowd, right? Not drawing any suspicion at all. But within just a few hours, this timeline abruptly skyrockets into a high-stakes hostage situation in Seattle and then ends with him literally disappearing into the night sky. The sheer speed of this, going from a boring commercial route to the FBI's biggest headache, is absolutely staggering. Let's look at exactly how fast things escalated.
So, the peaceful vibe of the flight gets completely shattered in one terrifying moment. And the wild thing is, he didn't yell. He didn't make a big scene. He just calmly called a flight attendant over, popped open his briefcase, and showed her what was inside. It was a bomb. Imagine being that flight attendant. In a fraction of a second, the entire reality of the flight just flips. By showing her that explosive tucked inside his briefcase, Cooper instantly took total control, physically and psychologically, of that aircraft. The tension must have been unbelievable. Suddenly, the crew is trapped thousands of feet in the air in a life-or-death situation, with a guy holding the power to bring the whole plane down sitting right in the back row.
Now that he had their attention, and obviously the undeniable leverage of a bomb, his demands were actually incredibly straightforward. He wasn't asking to free political prisoners. There was no crazy manifesto. First up, he demanded $200,000. To just boldly ask for a massive pile of cash like that while trapped in a metal tube in the sky, it really shows how serious and calculated this guy was. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he was using the lives of everyone on board as his ultimate bargaining chip.
But the cash was really just step one of a very simple yet totally bizarre list of demands. He also wanted parachutes. Now, you kind of have to stop and ask yourself, why exactly 4? Think about the strategic genius behind that specific number. If he only asked for 1 parachute, the cops on the ground might figure he's jumping alone, right? They might even try to tamper with it. But by asking for 4, he kept everyone completely in the dark. Was he going to take hostages with him? Force the crew to jump? It's this brilliant, cold detail that added a massive layer of psychological chess for the authorities down on the ground who were scrambling to figure out his next move.
Okay, so he gets the money. He gets the parachutes. And true to his word, he lets the 36 innocent passengers go. The plane makes this incredibly tense landing in Seattle, and Cooper pulls off this massive exchange right there on the tarmac, totally seamlessly. Just think about the sheer wave of relief for those 36 people, finally getting off that plane and leaving the nightmare behind. But then, flip it. Think about the absolute chilling reality for the crew that had to stay behind. The whole dynamic just shifted. The bystanders are gone, and now it's just the flight crew, all alone with a hijacker and a live bomb.
With the passengers safely on the ground in Seattle, Cooper tells the pilots to take the plane back up. But he doesn't just casually change the destination to Reno, Nevada. He gives a really terrifying order. He tells the remaining crew to go into the cockpit and to lock the door behind them. By forcing them to isolate themselves way up at the front of the plane, he's basically giving himself total, absolute privacy in the back cabin. He's got complete control of the environment now. The crew is locked away, terrified, completely blind to what he's doing, and cut off from the guy with the bomb and the parachutes.
So when the plane finally touches down in Reno, the crew very cautiously unlocks that cockpit door. They're totally expecting to have to confront their hijacker, but instead, they step out into an entirely empty cabin. Dan Cooper was gone. The bomb was gone. And the only single clue left behind was the airplane's rear stairway, just left completely extended. Think about the wild contrast here. Mid-flight, you've got this unbearable tension with the crew completely blind to what's happening just a few feet behind them. And then they land, and there's nothing but dead silence and a gaping hole in the back of the aircraft.
Just let that eerie reality sink in for a second. It honestly sounds like a crazy Hollywood script, but it is absolute historical fact. Somewhere between Seattle and Reno, while the crew was locked safely away, Dan Cooper opened up that back stairway and jumped. He literally plunged out of a commercial airliner mid-flight, clutching $200,000 straight into the pitch-black, freezing abyss. He jumped right into the dark of night and was never seen again. No trace whatsoever of the man who boarded that afternoon. He just vanished into thin air.
As you can imagine, the aftermath of that night has frustrated investigators for decades. As the years dragged on, the FBI chased this relentlessly. Every single tip, every lead, every guy who kinda matched the description or had the right skydiving skills was brought in and heavily scrutinized. They looked into so many suspects over the years, but the incredibly frustrating truth is, not a single one of them turned out to be Cooper. Every time, the leads would just run cold. The guy who pulled off this seemingly flawless hijacking had literally erased himself from existence, leaving the whole thing completely and utterly unsolved to this day.
Which brings us to the biggest question of all. Did Dan Cooper actually pull off the perfect crime? Just imagine the sheer audacity it takes to plan a hijacking, secure a massive fortune, lock a flight crew in the cockpit, and then just disappear into the night sky without leaving a single conclusive trace behind. It's a story that totally defies logic and really tests the limits of what we even think is possible. So, will his true identity ever finally emerge from the shadows, or is he just destined to remain a ghost of aviation history forever? Well, that's a mystery I'll leave entirely up to you to ponder.